Today on the Self Leadership Lab, we're exploring one of the most important questions a leader can ask themselves. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Many people achieve success, but still feel misaligned or burned out. My guest today is Jacqueline Smith, who believes that the missing piece is clarity of purpose. Her new book, The Purpose Code, explores how leaders can move from chasing success to building a life that is aligned, intentional, and meaningful. All right, Jacqueline, it is so nice to have you on the show today. I want to just jump right into it. So, you've written a book, The Purpose Code. Can you tell me why you chose purpose as a topic for this book?
Bobby, it is a pleasure to be here. First of all, thank you so much for having me. Um, it's a great question. I wrote the Purpose Code because after serving in the United States Army, my goal became an obsession, which is to help individuals discover their purpose, unlock their potential, and live with clarity and intention. I found that after serving for almost 3 decades, people were living a life, and however, they were drifting. They're not focused on what it is that they are actually here to do. So with this book, it is truly an honor and a privilege to share it with the world and bring a level of clarity that is definitely desired and needed.
Yeah, no, and the way you write it out is very, very well written, and it gives people a guidebook with a lot of thought-provoking questions, exercises, worksheets that they can do. Did you start seeing this lack of purpose and wanting to write on it because of during your military service? Which, by the way, thank you for that. You know, we're both Army vets, so go Army.
Go
But
Army.
did you see it like during your service time, or was it when you got out? Because I know a lot of things, a lot of former soldiers and military in general, once they get out of the military, they kind of lose that purpose for a little bit, or they lose the camaraderie. And so which one was it for you? What inspired you to hone in on the purpose?
So honestly, Bobby, it was both. In the service, I taught and I mentored and I coached. I mean, hundreds, perhaps thousands of soldiers, and I saw it in every individual. They needed a purpose. They needed to feel like they had a meaning to the mission. Accomplishing the mission was important, but they needed to know what the purpose behind it was, and so that started my thinking and my journaling and writing this out. And then, of course, when I exited, I left the military as an active duty officer. I felt that purpose that was not there anymore because I had been conditioned for almost 3 decades in the service. Um, it was mind-boggling, to say the least. I felt like I was missing something, and through my literature and through my writing, I was able to find that again, and through sharing with others and helping others find their purpose, that gave me that invigoration to live a life of purpose again.
Yeah, yeah. And, a lot of times people associate purpose with their job. And I know we're certainly not talking about that. It certainly helps if your purpose is in your job, but it's almost your purpose in life as a human. And you can take that purpose to any job that you have. I talk about that a lot on the show. You don't have to burn the bridges. You don't have to change careers. You don't have to change friends. You just have to start showing that purpose in every single thing you do. And I think we lose that a lot in society because our jobs are so time consuming, and they're what we identify. You and I are both in the Northern Virginia area. Every time you meet someone, it's like a job interview. And it's like a battle of wits to see who has the better job, who do you know, who do you all this. So it's very easy for people to think that their purpose is their job. But yet at the same time, I think the purpose is deeper than that. Could you share your thoughts on what you think about purpose and the individual versus the workplace?
Oh, absolutely. So most people, they think they're lacking potential, right? But in the workplace, what they're actually lacking is clarity. Most people already have the talent, they have the intelligence, they have the ability to succeed. The real issue is not their capacity, Bobby, it's direction. when people lack clarity, whether it's at work or at home, they hesitate. They think things over and over. They overthink it. They second guess themselves. They stay stuck in indecision. They don't move forward. So when they're able to find that clarity, it's a multiplier. It multiplies the way they see themselves, the way they move, the way that they're going forward towards a goal. And at the end of the day, when they follow their intuition and they have that clarity, that's the best way for them to locate what the true meaning of purpose is.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about overthinking because I talk about this a lot on the show. I mean, so much of society and even coaching, and I know you're a coach as well, is about thinking about your decision. But I find that if you think and think and think, you don't get anything done. Zero times anything is still zero. So it takes some kind of action. So talk a little bit about what you found through your research and the people you've talked to about overthinking and underdoing, or replacing thinking with action, and the consequences that that may bring.
Oh, absolutely. So in my army experience, we're always always clear. The clarity drove the mission. As you know, you're also an army veteran. And when the clarity was there, you had alignment, you had the execution, and the results follow. Now, clarity, it doesn't just guide your life; it unlocks your potential. So when people are stuck, it's because something in them is not clear. Because that clarity comes with action. As you say that in your book, as a matter of fact, I remember reading it just last week. If your purpose is there and you're not taking action towards your purpose, how do you know that you're actually on track, right? People don't generally feel stuck because they're incapable. Let's think about it. They feel stuck because they are unclear. They feel afraid, which is the enemy of all, which Tony Robbins says it very, very well. He says false evidence that our fear is real. That's fear. So if you think about it that way, you take the necessary action to get you to live a life of purpose, and not disconnected from purpose, which is unbelievably a fact for so many people, not only in America, but throughout the world. People walk comparing themselves to others. They want to live a life of purpose, but they don't know necessarily what that means. They need to take time and think deep within themselves and know that comparison is a killer. It's killer of purpose. Comparison and not taking action both will take you down the wrong path.
Yeah,
So
they magnify each other every single time. I mean, the more you compare yourself with other, what do they say? Comparison is the thief of all joy, and it's also, I think, the thief of all purpose because
just like the ocean, you have waves. The waves going forward? Are they going backwards? It all is evidence in your actions, in your clarity, in your purpose, in those steps that you're taking each and every day. If the steps that you're taking is because my friend wants me to go and do this with them, but that wasn't really what you were on purpose to do, is it leading you to where you want it to be? Is it objectively, if you think about it this way, every step you take every day compounds over time. And I know that's a financial term, but compound actions drives your long-term purpose.
Yep. Yep. I'm a big fan of the compounding actions. And I think another thing I'd like to explore with you, because a lot of times we talk about clarity like, oh, it's a light switch. Either you have it or you don't. I'm assuming that when you were writing your book, there were often moments where you didn't think you had clarity. You lost your purpose. And I want to encourage the listener that that is normal. And just
Absolutely.
because we're coaches and we sit here and we talk about it, we've read a lot of books on it, that doesn't mean it's easy. Can you describe to me how when you do lose your or have lost your purpose, your clarity at times, how you gain it back?
So just as I was saying earlier, when you lose what you believe it's your purpose. For me, it was serving in the military 3 decades, being along um, uh, very difficult units, serving with the best of the best, with soldiers, um, serving families. That was such a big part of me for such a long time that's what I knew, that's what I appreciated. Yes, and that's probably people would say that's the business side, but that was also family to me. It is actually family to me. The military continues to be a great, big part of my purpose in my life. Um, Besides my family, what we know here in the civilian sector, the family, they're always there. I have been married for almost 3 decades also, with two beautiful children. Um, and my purpose remains serving my country, but also serving my family. And
Mm.
clarity, that's my clarity. I'm not stuck. I felt sad. I felt adrift when I left the military, but I also knew that there's a time and a place and a purpose for everything. And having that belief has led me to where I'm at today, which is helping others find their clarity and live a life of purpose.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I applaud you for that. And you when you were talking about that, something stuck out to me. Like you said, your purpose is your family, your children, your greater family, the army, your civilian sector, all those things. A lot of times people don't understand that something that's simple, and I don't want to underplay it because your family is very important and you're in charge of your children and all that sort of thing. But something that's like non-related. You're not going to get metrics and awards for being a good mother, right? They may hand you a cup on Mother's Day. This is number one mother or something like that. But your purpose there and having a grasp on that, it
Mhm.
it it trickles into all the action you take, the decisions you make at the job place, which job you do take, how you spend your time. You mentioned earlier if someone asks you to do something that doesn't meet your ideals. A lot of times it's just a litmus test to is what I'm doing promoting my purpose? And the purpose can be very simple. And I think that's one thing that we miss when we talk about purpose and clarity is it doesn't have to be a CEO job. It doesn't have to be general or colonel or whatever the rank that you're going to next in life. It can be like, well, if I can show up for my family, I can show up for others. And then every decision I make. Did you find this true in your like walk and in your work with finding purpose and clarity?
100%, Bobby. That is so well put together. I love that question and I love how you actually explain it. So it's not only showing up for your family, you have to show up for yourself.
Mm,
If you say, I'm going to do this, and it's clearly within your willpower house and your willpower, then do it. Don't lie to yourself. Be truthful. If you tell someone you're going to do something and you've already committed, go forward and do what you said you're going to do. These are the basic things that we learn growing up, first of all. And then in the military, we have our Army values, which we actually say it's leadership. And when we honor those values and we honor what we are and what we bring to the world, remember the law of reciprocity. Not that we do things because it's going to come back to us, but because it's the right thing to do. And you want good things, do good things. If you want not good things, then other things will come too. Um, these are things that are facts. These are things that are drive your purpose. So this will also make your clarity be bigger and 100% um, something that you can actually think about and be proud of.
yeah. I obviously with the name of my show, Self Leadership Lab, and I really love the self leadership theory of as one of the many leadership theories that are out there. But I think it's an underplayed and under talked about in society because you said it. You've got to be true to yourself,
Yes.
and part of being true to yourself, I've found in recent days, like most people, I overschedule. I say yes to too many things. The boundaries aren't always clear. But if I say I'm going to do something to someone else, not only does it, you know, fulfill my commitment to them, it also fulfills my commitment to myself. And a lot of times back when I was struggling with depression, anxiety, finding my own purpose and clarity, all the words that we've discussed today, I used to say that like doing something that I overscheduled myself for was taking me away from where I'm at. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on changing that mindset because even if you overschedule yourself or say yes to too many things, don't change it this time. Change it as quickly as possible. I had a stoic guy on the show, not out, or probably out by the time this one comes out, but change it as quick as possible. But before you have time to change it in that moment, find how you can apply it to your purpose. I have clients all the time talk to me about like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. I got to take my kid to this. I got to take my kid to this. I got to take my kid to this. I have no time to do what I want to do in a day. And I said, hey, let's change that viewpoint. You have to take your kid to soccer practice. Well,
Yes.
you're sitting in the car waiting for them. Why don't you make sure you have your book with you or your laptop or whatever you want to do? That's a great time to do it. And that change of thought, like, hey, I'm overscheduled, turns into, man, now I have more time than I thought because I'm kind of double stacking my task, not multitasking. Because when the kid's out there playing, yeah, sure, you want to look at them every now and again, but you can sit there and do some deep work during that time. So I'm rambling a little bit here, but have you found that where in the clients you coach and your observations about the power of turning, the presence of now and making the most of it, regardless of what you're doing at the time?
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna give you a couple of quotes that I am big on quotes. As a matter of fact, I'm actually writing a poems book because ever since I was a child, that's all that I've actually really enjoyed regarding philosophy, etc. But Jim Rohn used to say, "Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better." So,
Mm,
so that I think that answers that question very well. And then he also said, "Success is a few simple disciplines practiced every day." So, as you said, Bobby, if you have extra time, take a book, use it wisely. Take your agenda, start working on your agenda. That's how you that's how you grow. That's how things become clearer. That's how purpose is driven. Napoleon Hill, in Think and Grow Rich, you're gonna hear me say it, use this book a lot because it's one of those fundamental books that I read as a young officer, and it says strength and growth comes only through continuous effort. So we have to put that effort out there. And there's no time that you're wasting. But Bob Proctor was actually huge on this. He used to say, "Change your paradigm and change your life." Well, no time is wasted if you're using it. If you're doing something that is productive, you can actually, let's say you forgot a book, go and speak with someone, make a friend.
yeah.
Life is a journey. It's how we travel and we cross that journey. Every day is an opportunity to be a better person and to live
Yeah.
a life on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, we associate purpose so much with time boxing and all these time management things that are out there saying, "Hey, you've got to sit down and do this and this." But you're absolutely right. Like, yeah, you forget your book, you forget your notebook, whatever you want to do, go talk to someone. And I tell you what, so much of the time I find when I stop working on something, I learn something that then allows me to further the work I'm doing, right? Because as authors and people who produce content, a lot of times you don't see what the average person's thinking. And I don't want to say average in their skills and abilities, just the normal person walking around, because you can write the greatest book in the world. Like the Purpose Code could have the key to unlock purpose for every single person in the world. But if they don't hear it and it doesn't resonate in their speech, they're not going to do it. So I'd like you to talk a little bit more about not allowing blockers to purpose either, because it's so easy to say I can't or I won't or
Mhm.
the world's against me. But I think I read this in your book this morning that the obstacle is we create them ourselves, right? Or something
Mhm.
that kind of that very similar. But and I do think that a lot of purpose are obstacles that we create for ourselves. I know that's certainly the case with me, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
No, absolutely. I think that, if we want to live with clarity, we want actions, we want certain things in life, we've got to, one thing that I learned early on, someone's already done whatever it is that you're actually trying to do, whether it's writing a book, whether it's coaching, whether it's joining the military, whether it's opening your own franchise. There's always someone there as a role model. So go to library, the books are free there. Pick up a biography, but build confidence through action. Don't say I want to do something and not focus on what it is that you want. In my book, I have a few frameworks, but one that I'm very proud of is called the PACT. Make a pact with yourself. A PACT stands for purpose, action, consistency, and transformation. So through doing this, you can actually become the person that you wish to be. Now, setting those purpose-driven goals, they will create action plans. You need action plans to get to where you're at. It's just like when you're one good example is when I get in a vehicle, and I tell my clients this all the time. If you're setting your GPS to get somewhere, but if you put the wrong address in that GPS, that's it. It's not the GPS's fault. It's our own human action. It's going to take you somewhere else where you don't want to be. Hence, have the right address programmed in your GPS. Have the right actions written and take action every single day. Now, where we lose a lot of people is where they think that because they took this action, tomorrow they're going to be a different person. No, that's not how it works. I like the farmer's analogy. First, you have to prepare your terrain. Second, you have to plant those seeds. And then you have to water that flower or that fruit tree in order to get it to where it's actually producing fruits. So I said a lot here, but at the bottom line is you've got to make a pact with yourself and take those necessary actions to consistently to get you to the transformation that you want.
Yeah.
Everyone has potential. Everyone has potential. They just have to take action, the right actions. Not don't put the wrong address in the GPS.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if you do, learn from it. So many people lose their purpose or get, one mistake and they fall apart. Well, what if Thomas Edison quit the first time he tried to do a light bulb? Well, we'd probably be sitting in the dark right now. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. And just learn from it and see those opportunities. Don't beat yourself up because we're all going to make, especially when you're making a big change, right? And you're trying something new, or maybe you just want to be happier.
Mhm.
Well, don't allow a simple mistake to make you unhappy because that's not your purpose. And I like the pact because it helps you. It'll help you establish standards for yourself. And I think standards are a big thing that you need to nail down early on. A creed, you mentioned the Army creed and all those that we got. There's an NCO one, officer one, all these creeds. Well, make a creed for yourself. Like, what is your creed, and are you sticking to it? And little dinks in the armor, little mistakes here and there aren't gonna keep you from doing your purpose overall. They might be a minor setback, but
Mhm.
only if you allow them to. Only if you allow something minor to become major will it happen. We do have power over these things. And another thing is it's going to take time. So be mindful of that when you do set this goal and you make this pact. If I used to weigh 354 pounds. If I said I'm going to get down to the weight I am today overnight, I would have failed every single time because it's physically impossible. But yet, when I see people looking for new purpose or new clarity in what the work they're doing or the work they want to be or how they want to show up to other people, they make them audacious goals. but make them baby goals. If I can be kinder to one person today, if I can make influence on one person's life today, that's easy to do. One is easy. So let's say you want to touch 1 million people with your book. Well, you got to do it one at a time. And then one becomes two, two becomes four, and then it exponentially increases. This comes about the compounding that you're talking about.
Yes.
That's how we've got to think about our actions and know that like what you do today will influence what you're going to do 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And you may not even see those results. And I see so many people stopping on day 14 when day 15 would have been the breakthrough that they needed to encourage them to go along. Another thing, real quick, while I'm on this subject, I read the other day that like take time to encourage those around you that are making changes too. So often in life, if you're trying to make a change and you tell someone, they always tell you 15 reasons why you can't do it or why you shouldn't do it. Don't listen to them. You have to own this. This is where the self-leadership comes in any change. And I know in this culture, like everyone wants to look at the Facebook and the Instagram or all these things. Sometimes when you make this pact with yourself, make it privately because you're not, well, I'm going to say you're not going to beat yourself up as much as others will. You're going to beat yourself up because that's human nature, right? Because it's uncomfortable. It's abnormal for you. But
Yes.
don't add to that discomfort because you can control your own thoughts. You can say, "Hey, Jacqueline, I made progress today."
I love
And
that.
yeah, and so talk a little bit like if I was your client and I told you I had no purpose, give me like a real quick baby step that someone can take home today and start start doing it before they get your book to read about it and have the blueprint and frameworks that you laid out so beautifully in that.
I love that. So Bobby, when you were speaking, one thing that came up in my mind was Rohn's quote where he says, "You are the average of the 5 people that you spend time with," right? So when you are writing those goals and you're not ready to share those goals, and but you are taking those steps to transformation, taking those actions, it's important that you reinforce that in your mind, that you know that when your mission is clear, the path becomes possible, and that you are now at the stage where you're actually clearing the ground. You're planting those seeds and you're nurturing it. And when you're ready, you share those goals and that purpose with those who are closest to you. And a point that was I was discussing and having a conversation recently that actually stood out as well was not everyone that you share your goals with is going to be rooting for you. So if you know that's the case, then there's no need to share. If this is your pact with yourself. Um,
Yeah.
so it is important that we know this. Um, Fear is not what you think it means, okay? Most of us, we fear that our actions are going to put us in a stage where there's going to be discomfort. That's why we procrastinate. That's why we overthink. That's why we hesitate. But remember, your mission is greater than that fear. Fear has a reason for being. Um, John Asraf is, I actually have taken a few of his courses, and he says in his neuroscience courses that fear is part of the brain's way of protecting us. Because by nature, we are not necessarily active people. We're very sedentary. But with that purpose and that clarity of action, we can become the better version of ourselves. So don't misunderstand fear. Fear is not real danger. It's not an immediate threat. It's actually an imagined outcome and a worst case scenario most of the times. And it's self-created and it creates limitations. My big thought for fear, and I want to leave your listeners with this, is that use fear to um, allow you to cross over. Think about if it's not a real danger, Think about why it's there. Because 9 times out of 10, it's just discomfort in disguise so that it can triggering you to become the better version of yourself. Fear is not what other people think. Fear is not what you think it is. It is something that is going to propel you forward.
Yep.
Oh, did that answer your question, Bobby?
No, no,
Is that too long?
no, I know, no, I love it because fear can be fuel, and
Yes.
again, there's a difference between danger and just uncertainty or insecurity. But if you feed it, like I said, if you feed the fear, it becomes bigger. If
Yes.
you go out there and conquer it, it becomes smaller. So I know that's my analogy and that's what I took from it, but you're absolutely right. So many people are fearful, but who are you fearful? And you go back to that Jim Rome quote where you said, you're the sum of the five people you stick around. Well, remember, I would disagree with him in one thing only, that you're one of the five. And I don't know if he wrote about you're one of the five or not, but you control so much more than the five people that you're around. And the fears that you have are not abnormal. We all have fears. I mean, when you wrote this book and published it, I'm sure you had a lot of excitement in your heart the day it came out, but also a lot of fear because you're putting yourself out there and you're making a difference. But I guarantee you, the first text you got, "Hey, Jacqueline, this book really helped my life," or, you start getting good comments back and you see it, all that fear subsides and you're like, oh, that was just my brain trying to keep me safe, because had I not written this book, no one, no one could have said anything negative about it. I think when I met you earlier, I'm a big fan of a guy named David Goggins, and he puts himself out there in kind of an extreme way, but he loves it when negative comments. He says he even tapes them. He reads them out loud, tapes them, and listens to them for motivation, because it just shows him kind of how silly like the fears are. The opinions of others don't matter. You're on your track, you have your purpose, your clarity. So great tip. But before we wrap up, though, I want to make sure that everyone has a path to get to you, because I know you have a website and book out there. So share with anyone, and then I think you've got like a special offer for listeners too, as well, with the book, the audio book there. So why don't you share that with us?
So I want to leave with the audience with fear is not a stop sign. It's often a signal that you're growing, that you're stepping into something bigger. So step into your purpose. Action reduces fear. So whether you're overthinking, you're procrastinating, you're hesitating, you have self-doubt. Bobby, you said it very well. We all have those fears. It's human nature where we don't want to be criticized. We don't want to be in the limelight. But if we're not out there and we're not putting ourselves out there to serve others, because at the end of the day, we are serving, then what gives? If you have a service that somebody else will benefit from and you're not actually giving it, then you're doing a disservice.
Mm.
So get out there and serve to your capacity, learn how to become that better version of you. Most people, they're not lacking potential. They're lacking the clarity. It goes back to where we were a few minutes ago. That's why so many people, they feel stuck. Not because they're incapable, but because they don't have a clear direction. After 26 years in the Army, I learned that when people have a clear mission, they can overcome almost anything. And what stops most people from finding that mission is that false evidence that appears real, fear. But fear is not what we think it is. It's often that false evidence. So think about it in that way. And I know that this will propel you to become that person of purpose that makes a difference each and every day. As we said earlier, even a smile at somebody else can change somebody's outcome, somebody's direction, because somebody may not have received that smile that day. That may be part of your purpose. Purpose is not something grandiose. It's something that comes to you each and every day. It's your why. It's your why for that day. So when people gain clarity and take action despite their fear, everything changes. And I want that change for you. And I want that change for your audience. You can reach me at JacquelineSmithPDC.com. My books are on Amazon, Amazon.com, all ebook, Kindle, on the Kindle app, the paperback, as well as on ACX, on Audible. Uh, for those of you that are very interested in listening to my book, I am giving 10 copies, 10 Audible copies for free to the first 10 people that actually reach out to me on social media.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks for that gift to the listener. And I encourage all of you to go out there and comment, get your hands on this book. I'm almost done with it, and it's a beautiful book. And so thank you for writing it. And more importantly, thank you for coming on the show today and for all the lessons you taught us. And for all those who are listening, I do hope that you go out there and find your purpose, because your purpose will lead you to lead yourself, and that will lead you to leading and serving others. Until next time, as always, I'm Bobby. Enjoy your week.